Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, November 30th. Last day in November. December is right around the corner. We had a full plate of hockey last night, and none of them were leftovers, unlike what you probably had for dinner leading into this, but nonetheless. All right, so let's get right into this. Four games that I was able to see sections or segments of these games, but really, I didn't, watch them in their entirety. So, these are the highlighted games. As we've talked about before, I've got three devices. I'm watching three games simultaneously. When there's like an intermission, I'll switch games. So I get to see at least um, segments of this game, of these games. Well, yep, Danbury. They travel to Michigan and they come away with a win, uh, trying to climb into that third place spot in the Empire Division. These two teams just 1 point apart coming in, and so it was a 5-4 win by the Danbury Hat Tricks. Not the debut that Reed Cooper was looking for the Prowlers, but there's next game. It was great to see Frankie McClendon back in goal. It's been a long time. So, we get right into this. It was a game-winning goal by Gleb Van Dorken 5 minutes into the third period. This game was back and forth. Danbury's up, Port Huron's up, back and forth, and quite the contest. But in the end, Danbury's defense clamps down, and for the final 15 minutes, no goals, and Danbury holds on for the win. Connor Woolley, a couple goals in this game, and Joel Frazee, power play goal. His was the first goal for the Prowlers. Austin Federley scores. He gets his 200th Fed point. Congratulations to Austin. I'm sure he would much rather have the win though than the point, but those are the breaks sometimes. So Danbury improves to 5-3 as they get 35 shots on Cooper and five make it past. And then Port Huron 6-7-2 now, 37 shots on goal, just the 4 goals on Frankie McClendon. Crowd of 1320 on hand. So there we go. That was the opening segment of that game. And then with this game, I was very fortunate because I didn't watch the whole game. I just watched segments. But I caught all the important moments, which is really kind of bizarre. But yeah, what a goaltending battle this was between Connor McAnanima and Anton Borodkin. Um, battle of first place in the Empire Division, and Binghamton holds off the Wolves. Was a goal by Kyle Stevens. Um, earlier on, and it's 1-0. It's 1-0. It's 1-0. It's 1-0 for the longest time, and people were beginning to wonder, wow, is Watertown going to be held without a goal? Well, no, Chewetton Blacksmith did score in the second, late in the third period, or later in the third period, to get the Wolves back in it. In between, there was a little brouhaha between Emerson Emery and Ludwig Harris Jr. I think Harris is going to end up getting himself a suspension for the old-fashioned verbal abuse of an official, but we'll see what happens. Watching the YouTube game, I don't know what Harris said. All I know is he was given the gate. Late in the third, short-handed, it's Austin Thompson scoring, and that gives Binghamton the 2-1 win. These two teams, if it's going to be a 1-goal game, you think it's going to be like 5-4 or 4-3, not 2-1. But hey, great goaltending battle, and Austin Thompson with that game winner at 17-13 of the third. Crowd of 471 on hand, and I got to give kudos to those people. It doesn't sound like much, but if you've seen the weather forecast for Watertown for this weekend, starting last night, Um, wow, those are some brave souls that come out to watch the game, because they're looking at 60 inches of snow this weekend in Watertown. That is not that is not a drill. So anyway, Binghamton improves to 12-2-1. Watertown now 10-2-1. Binghamton holds on to first place. The road teams won every game so far in this series. They'll go at it tonight. I hope both teams were able to get themselves down to Binghamton quickly. And I don't know, Watertown might be having an extended stay in Binghamton, because it's going to be tough getting back up north. All right. This game, kind of a surprise how it turned out. Motor City travels to the Dashers, and Motor City scores first, but then the Dashers, they explode for 3 goals in a row, so it was 3-1. I think that's the first time they've been up. No, I take that back. It's the second time they've been up by 2 goals, because they beat Athens early this season 3-1. But nonetheless, yeah, it looked for quite a while like the Dashers were going to get their second win. Just wasn't meant to be. Motor City turns on the juice and just puts their foot on the gas. 19 shots on goal in the third period, and then as they tie things up to get to the overtime session, 7-1 the shots in the overtime in favor of Motor City. We get to the shootout, and Oscar Walgren, I mean, he had done everything he could to keep his team in it. Oh yeah, goaltending situation. This is interesting. Bryn Sommerfeld played the first period, perfect 13 for 13, but Ricardo Gonzalez came out for the second period and played the rest of the game. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if maybe the feeling was, hey, let's get Bryn some reps, let's get him some game time experience, because he hasn't played yet. But nonetheless, he did his part. And then in the second and third period, the Dashers go up 3-1, but Motor City stormed back. In this shootout session, TJ Sneath was the only scorer in the second round, and so he gets the game winner. Crowd of 605 on hand. Yeah, this was really something. But anyway, yeah, it just wasn't meant to be for the Dashers. So they get a point, but I'm sure they would rather have had the win. But we'll see what happens tonight. Motor City goes up to 4-9, while the Dashers are now 1-10-2. Still trying to figure things out, but they played much better. And having Brad Denny on the defensive line, that really helped them. Hopefully, they can work out a deal where maybe Denny can play for the Dashers for the home games the rest of the year. That would be huge for them. That would be a really big boost, because, of course, they are looking for defense. All right. So, shot total in the end, Motor City had 59 shots on goal. Whew. Columbus and Baton Rouge. Columbus finds their offense finally, and it's led by their leading goal scorer, Justin Samaro. He gets 2 goals on the night. And the key moment in this game was Baton Rouge was up 1-0 in the first. Alex Dorjahan on a buzzer beater, literally 1/10 of a second left, ends up scoring, and that tied things up. As a matter of fact, initially it wasn't ruled a goal. The referees gathered, looked at things, said, yeah, that was a good goal. It beat the clock. And that was all the momentum that Columbus needed. They just exploded for 3 goals in the second period and end up taking the game 5-3. Samaro with the game winner at 8:46 of the second period. It was Sammy Bernard holding down the fort for the River Dragons, while Bailey Stevens takes a tough loss for the Zydeco. Zydeco is still in first place though, 11-4-1 record, while Columbus is now 7-1-3. And I believe this was the best crowd of the year for the Zydeco, 3753 on hand. So that was good to see. But quite a game. Samaro with the 2 goals and assist. And Tyler Larwood had scored a power play goal to get the Zydeco a little bit closer, but just wasn't enough in the end. So we go to the games that I did focus on and pay got more attention to. So here we go. Hudson Valley, I think I'm just going to call them the Venom now because they're not really Hudson Valley anymore. We'll talk about that on Tuesday news and notes as far as what little bit is developing. I'll just say this real quick, and then we'll move on to the game. The situation with the Venom is pretty much going to be just week to week. Okay, let's see what we're going to do with their schedule this week. Then we'll work on next week. That seems to be the MO for the league at this point. All right, so the Bobcats, though, they came out firing. They weren't going to sleep on the Venom, and as a matter of fact, they get the game-winning goal at 2:07 of the first period by Alex Nowitzki. Beautiful pass from Vladislav Vlasov, and too many V's in there. But anyway, that was all that the Bobcats need. But Hunter Virostek was going to have himself a night, and at the same time, the Venom, they're trying to kind of get back in a rhythm. They haven't been able to practice, so the first period was pretty rough. Shots were 16-8 in the first. Vlasov scored at 9:24 of that first period to make it a 2-0 game. So it was already 2-0. The shots are doubled up. But the Venom, once they came out in the second period, they seemed to kind of find their stride. Started getting shots on Virostek. Unfortunately, none got past him. In the meantime, Nick Stuckless gets a power play goal past John Moriarty. It's his third goal in 3 games. So good on Stuckless. He couldn't find his game in Binghamton. He gets picked up by the Bobcats, and he's been quite the find there. So that's great. So 3-0 at the end of 2, but now the shots in that second period were 18-17 in favor of the Bobcats. It was a wide open game, but Virostek stopped everything that came his way. In the third period, it was Sanders scoring with an assist from Hunter Virostek. 5:59 of the third. Yeah, Virostek now has 4 assists on the year. Of course, 3 came in one game, but still, it's a young season, so who knows? Could he hit double digits in assists? That would be wild. But anyway, crowd of 1390 on hand to see the Bobcats shut down the Venom 4-0. Hudson Valley did end up with 30 shots on goal for the game, but the Bobcats have 42, and more importantly, 4 got in. So the Venom are now 4-5-1, and the Bobcats are 7-4-2. Vlasov with a goal and 2 assists on the night, and Virostek, of course, was the only goalie to have a perfect game last night, although there were several other good goalie performances, but he goes 30 for 30. That's his second shutout of the year. So, what's a Friday night without a no-no somewhere? All right. So this was the surprise of the night, and I was amazed. Athens, yeah, they kind of looked a little flat in the first, even though they were playing well defensively. Tonight was not the night, or last night rather, was not the night for Josh Rosenzweig. A rough start for him, despite the Carolina Thunderbirds being held to 4 shots on goal in the first period. 2 got by Rosenzweig. Game starts off with a bang, literally 5 seconds in. It's Joe Kennedy and Justin Portilla facing off, and exuding a little bit of energy on each other's faces, and that got the Carolina crowd fired up. got the team fired up too. Nate Keeley scores at 8:17 to give the Thunderbirds the lead. And uh, you know, boy, the crowd, the sellout crowd, 3150 on hand, but they were fired up. Then Lane King scores on a beautiful 2-on-1 at 13:49, and yeah, now it's 2-0. We got to the end of the first. Shots were 9-4 Athens, but I don't know, they didn't seem to have a whole lot of energy in the offensive zone, and that was kind of surprising. Second period, excuse me, we get to uh, 54 seconds in, and Clay Keeley scores. Um, and it was a good shot, but it was one that I think Rosenzweig should have had, and I think Coach Steve Martinson realized that too, because he pulls Rosenzweig, in comes Jack Bostat. And so now we have the matchup that I expected, Bostat and Cavallari in goal for the remainder of the game. 12:51, it's Yuri Pastuka scoring. It's 4-0. Now, in the second period, Carolina got their offense going. Shots were 16-8 in that middle frame. And so at the end of two, Carolina held a 20-17 shots advantage. But what really mattered was what was on the board, and it was 4-0 at that point. Jan Salak makes it 5-0 at 6:06. The announcer Brendan Riley made it a point to say, this was Salak's fifth game, and he's scored in every one. Fifth game with the Thunderbirds, because he started the year in Quad City. So it's 5-0. It's 6-0. It is Danik Duran scoring at 15:11. Yeah, so the only question was Cavallari going to get his third donut of the year? Well, no, because Riley Robertson spoiled the shutout at 16-12 to get Athens on the board. And then 1957, Troy Murray kind of slipped one by Cavallari, and so that made the final 6-2. But Athens falling to 9-2, but they are looking forward to starting their home season, and it's just next week. Finally, after 11 games on the road trip, hey, going 9-2, you can't shake a stick at that. Carolina improves to 8-1-3. They have now won their last 5 games. They are on a roll. Shots 34-25 in that game. And then the final game of the night, we had the Monroe Moccasins, and this was another game that I missed out on with the predictions. I picked 6 games last night, only got 2 right. This was quite an interesting night. I'd picked Athens. I'd picked Monroe. I picked the Wolves to win it. Yeah, it wasn't a good night for the old predictions department, but who cares? Yeah, these are the results that matter. All right, Monroe with Sean Kuhn in goal against Ed Coffey. Ed Coffey getting his Fed debut coming out of Maryville University, and this was what the Mississippi Seawolves were hoping for in a goaltender. They were looking for somebody to just make the saves that needed to be made, and Mississippi got it from Ed Coffey. So early in the first, halfway through the first, it is Blake Keller getting the Seawolves on the board. It's 1-0. But then Brendan Corrigan scored late in the period. Now 18:57 for that goal. So we go into the end of the first. It's 1-1. The shots are pretty even. It's Monroe 12, Seawolves 11. And Seawolves played a much more disciplined game. This is what they were hoping to do at the start of the year, because let's be honest, in that big losing streak, they just weren't playing well in any zone, neutral zone, attacking zone, defensive zone. It just wasn't happening. But they looked like they were a team last night, and that was what they really needed. All right, despite Brad Ryder scoring at 7:04 for the Moccasins, the energy just looked different on the board, on the bench too. Ryder scored, and it didn't really seem like the Seawolves batted an eye. It was kind of like, all right, we'll get it back. You saw some confidence, and that was good. Um, so in the third period, it took a little while, but Jay Krupp, he's been a spark plug for the Seawolves. He gets the game tying goal, 14-28. The crowd finally gets into it because the crowd had been very quiet for quite some time. Even though the players were playing well on the ice, it was kind of a hush hush situation. But okay, so Krupp scores, and then the crowd gets into it, and now the Seawolves are feeding off of that energy. 17:05, it's Dalton Anderson on a power play, scoring, and boy, that place went nuts. That was amazing. To see that kind of energy in the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. And so that's it. Mississippi holds on. As a matter of fact, Mississippi, instead of kind of laying back, playing defense, they kept attacking. And the puck, the final 3 minutes of the game was almost exclusively in the Mississippi attacking zone. So, they played a really good game, and they come out with a 3-2 win, improving now to 2-10-1. Baby steps. You got to take baby steps. Monroe falls to 6-6-4 on the year. Both teams got 34 shots on goal. But yeah, Mississippi wins, Mississippi wins, Mississippi wins. And that closed out our night. Again, I am hoping tonight that I will be in Binghamton. I'm hoping that both teams made it into Binghamton and that we do have the game tonight. So anyway, but we will have coverage of the 6 games for you. Even though I'll be there at the game, I've got my couple of screens, so I'll be keeping an eye on a couple other games as well. All right. So that is our Friday in the Fed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow. Let's see what other surprises may unfold. In the meantime, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. If you are up in the Northeast, around Lake Erie or Lake Ontario, please be safe, stay warm, and our thoughts are with you. All right, take care, everyone. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash.